Hello again, everyone. I'm back here again today with another piece I've been working on this week. I started this from an abstract point of view and worked up to the objects I've placed within it. But today I'm going to start you off by showing you the end piece, and I'm going to work backwards and show you how I got to this point. I'm not quite done with this piece yet, but I wanted to show you where it's at about 60% done. But before we start, I'm going to show you some examples I've been working on this week. I often love to experiment every day. I try to make an abstraction every day using the technique I'm going to show you. And that was done with Walnut ink and Sumi ink. And here's another one with Walnut and Sumi with acrylic. I'm going to hold it just a little closer so you can see some of the different details and mark making that resulted in using the technique I'm going to show you again here in a second. In addition to that, I have a finished piece, and you can see where I've added the landscape to the abstraction with the trees specifically, but there's a lot of things going on in that painting with color. Anyway, we will go ahead and start the new piece I showed you at the start of this video, and I'm just kind of arranging my supplies here so we can take a look. And we're going to start with Walnut ink first, and I'm just going to take some little dots. I'm going to take a paintbrush and kind of scatter it on there, kind of like Jackson Pollock, kind of dripping it on there. But we're not going to keep it a drop for too long. I'm just trying to get some colors down that I can use to bring the smearing technique I have. I'm going to bring some green now into this. This is an acrylic ink. I'm just going to drip some drops on here as well. There you see what it's a FW acrylic ink. And I'm going to spill that on there. And before we keep going, this is a 22 by 30 inch piece of paper. It's cold press, 140 pound, for those out there keeping score. This is a yellow ochre acrylic ink. I'm going to bring that in. So we've got walnut, we've got a green color and a yellow ochre. I think it's a hooker's green that I have. So anyway, I'm just going to bring these dots more to fruition. And this is the plastic bottle. I got this from a drink at Aldi's. Any plastic bottle will do. But this is the fun part. I'm just going to smear it out, let the colors intertwine, see what comes of it. And the bottle really blends it pretty well, pretty quickly. Okay, I'm also going to bring my spray bottle in, and I'm going to spray around the edges. I want to get a lot of hard edges on this in the smear, so I'm going to try to bring some softer ones in. And I feel it's a little light right now, so I'm going to go back in with some of my ink, bring some more green into it, get a good squirt of green there, and also bring back the walnut ink and bring some of that in too. And here we go with the ink here. And this is always, like I said, the fun part. I have no real inclination about what this is going to be yet. I'm just experimenting with the background. I'm not even sure at this point what the objects will be that I place on top. But I'm going to try the bottle one more time and see where we go with that. If you've seen my previous videos, I like to use glass jars, plastic bottles, things that will quickly get the abstraction working. The spray bottle is always a great go-to. You can do a lot of different things with it, and you can get a pretty good texture going pretty quickly. Okay, now I'm going to take some table salt. Normally you put this on watercolor, but I found that table salt also works on ink. It's not quite as dramatic, but it still leaves a texture within the ink and the walnut ink, the acrylic. Here's some rubbing alcohol. I'm also going to bring that in. And as you kind of just gently put some of the drops on there, you'll see the little bubbles that form and little just odd abstractions that work within the ink. I think that's good right there. Now I'm going to show you up close what it looks like after it's dried. And you can see the little salt areas are still there, along with the rubbing alcohol. It really interacted really well with the acrylic and the ink. And it's always a surprise how it dries. You're never quite sure what it's going to look like, but if you've done it enough times, you'll get kind of a general indication. And here's my previous image from the previous video, merging abstraction with realism. Some of you hopefully have seen that video, but I'm going through the same process with this image that I went with that one. I'm also going to show you a couple of small ones here. These are two I'm working on right now. Just started today, did some pencil drawing. You can see the pencil lines. I did some splattering with ink and gouache actually on that one, along with some of the acrylic blotches I like to add to the image. Still working on this, still brand new. I like to show you things I'm working on new. Anyway, back to the drawing we talked about to begin with. Today now I'm going to bring a chalk pastel. And I like to draw with chalk. It will not stay chalk in this picture. I will be bringing other mediums over it, but chalk is dark enough so I can see the lines going over top of the textures I've already made. I found I draw with chalk quite a bit when I get my initial image onto the surface. I do that with canvas also. What kind of drawing utensil do you like to use? Please leave it in the comments. Let me know how you guys are doing. But this is the one I prefer, and I'm just trying to find some extra thick line as I go around this. I'm making a fence post right now. This is kind of indicative of the area I live in. I live in a very rural area, so I'm always out looking for different images to work with. This is acrylic paint I'm bringing in, so I've got the fence post, the first fence post in, and I'm just bringing in some burnt sienna, some dark umber colors, and trying to kind of bring the volume in with the color. I have done a lot of travel in my life, but I found some of the best things in your life are things right around you at the time. And like I said, I grew up in the rural Midwest, and those motifs and images and things that I've always seen, like the barbed wire fence, definitely something I like to bring in. Something that I know, I think I've said in previous videos, a lot of my art professors at university always said, you can't go wrong by painting what you know. And so that's why I've always carried with me. I like to investigate some of my childhood, some of the things I've experienced over the years. And now that I'm getting older, all that's come full circle. I like dropping in certain things that maybe when I started the drawing I didn't have a plan to put in, but areas opened up, spaces opened up, the way the colors, the textures came in, it kind of led to me going with something like that. I feel like my style has been fairly consistent over the years, but I definitely add certain nuances to the mix. I get a little bored if I stick with the same thing over and over and over. One thing that's always been evident, I think, in most of my works is a sense of texture and color. Transparency is another thing I've talked about in other previous videos. So what are your facets to your repertoire that you use? And here I come back in with the water-soluble pastel that I'm using the brush to bring the color out in. All right, back to the fence post. You can see I put lines in the fence post, and I've used, these are once again water-soluble pastels, where you can really get some fine detail in terms of the wood, and that's what I'm trying to do. I started off first with the dark lines to bring that contrast, and the light lines really help bring that wood texture out. Constantly layering. I like to layer quite a bit on all of my paintings. Usually I have several built up. Without question, some of my favorite artists have always been landscape artists. Since I grew up fairly alone in the rural areas, art became kind of a sanctuary for me, and I've always studied landscape artists, especially of the 20th century, and they still go through my head. Hopper, Birchfield, just a whole host of different people. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to show you one final image of what I showed you at the start. And I'm not completely done, but if you've liked this video today, please subscribe. I love comments. I love to talk to you guys. So I will see you next time, and have a wonderful week.